All right. Good afternoon, guys. I hope we are available now. You're welcome to class. Those of you that are online, yes, let me know what is your name and which center are you chatting from. Yes, where are you chatting from? As soon as you join, kindly introduce yourself in the chat box, your name and probably your center or where you are chatting from. Thank you for your understanding. Okay, Chinaza from Badagry, thank you. Chikwewu from Enugu, Francis from Wusetu. Okay, Olatunbo Sumbakare, which center is that? All right, guys, you're all welcome. I want to believe that this is the first time we are meeting on this course, at least for this current semester. We haven't done anything on it before. So this class we do justice. Mm, So this class will do justice to introduce you to what you are expecting in this course, like what you're expected to do, what is the course all about, and of course, the practical aspect of it. This course is not a practical course, so don't mix everything. I'm just saying. Mm, yes, Ogibo Ernest from Lagos mainland. You are welcome. Please tell the rest of them in the group. I don't like poor attendance when we are having this kind of class. Once your attendance is poor in this first class, count me out too. I won't hold another class with you guys again. So we have Mr. Francis. We have okay. All right. So let's take an icebreaker before we even start anything. What do you understand by a computer? Assuming someone walks to you and say, "Please, what is a computer?" Like I'm be hearing computer, computer. I don't know what they are talking about. Please, what is a computer? What will you tell the person? Let's start with that before we even go into anything in this course at all. What will your response be to a 2-year-old child? Ah, I hope 2-year-old child can talk. Sorry. Let's say a 6 years old or 4 years old or anything that comes to you and say, Mr. Francis, please, what is a computer? I heard Chinaza and Bolu, they were talking about it, but I don't know what it meant. So please tell me, what is a computer? What will you tell the child? Yes, I am patiently waiting for your responses. Let's do that first. That is the first thing we'll do. Yes, Bolu Atife from Surulere. Madam Bolu, you're welcome. God gifts. I want to join the membership. Yes, membership is very simple. Just click on join, enter your card details because YouTube only accept card payments. If you have OPay card, it will work. If you have your Nigeria Bank, UBA, Polaris, anything, you can enter it there. But make sure you have up to the amount you want to pay in that bank as account balance. That is what it's as simple as that. Thank you for showing interest. So, nobody, I'm waiting for the answer. What is a computer? And as soon as you join, please, before you open the chat, like the video, then open the chat. Thank you. What is a computer? I mean, that's how I want to start the class. A small boy ran to me and said, please, what is a computer? Like, the child is totally like ignorant of what a computer is. He doesn't even know how it looks like, what it is, and what is it's used for. Okay, so guys, please, what is a computer? I am waiting. Oh, this is not a class you join and you be in Owambe, you be in party and you just join the class for joining sake. You have to contribute to what is a computer. What is a computer? Yes. A computer. I have time, so I'm waiting patiently for you guys. I have all the time. Okay, let's keep looking at each other. What is a computer? Nobody wants to talk. What is a computer? Okay, Mr. Francis says computer is a machine that is used for the processing of data to give required information. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Uh, Francis. That is a nice one. That is a nice one. Okay, thank God. The responses are coming in now. Yeah, somebody said is according to. Well, you're welcome, Mr. Is it Elijah? According to God's gift, computer is an electronic machine that accepts and processes data to give out information. Computer is an electronic device used in processing data according to Bolanle. Akinyemi says, okay, well, yes, good afternoon, you're welcome. CJ, a computer is an electronic machine that receives information, works on that information, stores it, and gives you a result. Okay, okay. Okay. That's not bad. That's not bad. You guys are doing well. I think we are actually good to go based on the current this thing we have. All right, so let's move on to something serious. Mm, as a way of introducing the course, I have tried to ask you what you know already about a computer, and I'm impressed. Everyone here knows what a computer is all about or what it does. All right, so what are we going to learn in this class that you've attended today? What is the main, lesson for us? Why are you here? I hope it's not going to waste your time, you know, and so on and so forth. So, by the end of this lesson, we should be able to do the following. One, okay, I think I have jumped where the objectives are. Let's go back a bit to the objectives. It's very important we know why we are doing what we are doing. So for the objectives, one is by the end of this lesson, students should be able to do the following. Number one, you should know the meaning and definition of a computer. Two things there. What computer means and then how to define it. Those are two things, two different things. You would know the meaning of data processing. That's another one. You'll be able to differentiate between data and information. That is where a lot of problems used to set in. so many people don't know the difference between data and information. So they get it mixed up. Is it not the same thing? So there is a kind of confusion we need to clear there. You also know methods of data processing that we have. Then you know the characters of a computer, you know components of a computing system, and even you will learn hardware and software. I'm not sure that will happen today. Then categories of computer users, and finally, you will learn about the computing environment. Okay, now as a form of introduction to the class, let's take the introduction. It's very short, but we'll just try to explain it in my own way. We don't need to read it verbatim. uh Computers are now part of everything we do. You know, you go to a restaurant to eat, you see a computer. You be wondering, did they use computer to cook food? You go to a bank, computer is there. You go to a boutique, you see computer there. You go to even a carpenter shop now, furniture shop, you see a computer. So you be wondering, why is it that everywhere you turn to today, you see what that thing that look like a television, that just pressing something there, pa, 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 pa. Why is it so? We have it almost everywhere we find ourselves today. Yes, I love those people that are dropping the definition of a computer. Thank you. You are doing well, and I think those definitions are correct. So many years ago, this computer you are seeing now that you carry on your lap, you call it laptop, or even hold mobile phones that are very smart, you call them smartphones. You know, you even have desktop now. Now, it wasn't like this before. Computers in those days were very large, like almost the size of a whole room. You buy one, it's going to feed a whole room. Then they were very expensive then. At the early stage of the coming of computer into space, it's very expensive. But if it's only very large and very expensive, you know that some people will be able to afford it and then enjoy life. But one thing is that it's very difficult to operate. It's not like now that you press just button, bah, it is on. Before, if you want to boot it, a lot of processes. Like the first stage when they just started doing this thing. So it's good you know where this thing started from. So that when you are holding a laptop, you'll be able to imagine. And this is not what they started with. Though. You know, everything in life, you always have something. That's why they say, just do it, just start. It may not look perfect at the beginning. It may not be, what you are actually bargaining for. It may, to you, the first version of that thing you are creating may not look like professional. Don't worry, just do it, release it. Then you start working to improve it. So if you have an idea in mind to produce something, hmm, and you've actually done the background work and you've even done something, then you are scared, like, in this generation, who will accept it? Release it first, then start working on it. You see if people will accept it or not. Well, they may reject you at the beginning, but the more you improve it with time, you will get better. So computer did not just start with this smart PC that you're having, these personal computers, these laptops you're carrying around. That was not how computer started. Computer has its own history. So the first set, very difficult to operate. And then they are only found, or they were mostly found in laboratories and research centers, not in the personal home or in your school bag that you put a laptop. Then another shortfall of the computer in those days is that it is only operated by trained computer engineers. Only computer engineers were able to operate the computers then. But today, a lot have changed. Things have changed completely today. Now, a computer can be found inside your phones. The phones you are holding in your hands, the smartphones we have, they are all computers. Somebody wants to know my name. My name is everywhere. I'm Obafemi Samuel. So you have computers in your phones now. You have them in banks, in schools. Okay, let me ask us an icebreaker. Give me up to 3 to 4, places you can find a computer in this our uh, age, or in this our generation. Mention places you can find a computer. Yes, I'm for your responses. You know, You guys wanted a class, and now we thank you. Davidson said in banks, and that is absolutely correct. Schools. It's only David I have here. Schools, correct. We can find it in schools. Absolutely correct. Yes, let's keep them coming. Let's keep them coming. Yeah, somebody said we can find them in office. Absolutely correct. That is Mercy. Thank you, Mercy. Schools. Stella said we can find them in libraries, e-learning libraries, homes. Yes. Churches. Thank you. CJ says churches. And just imagine that a lot of places you can find, even where you can't imagine. You can find it in supermarkets, government offices, factories, even in cars. You have computerized cars now, in ATMs, in POS machines, in television sets. We have smart TVs now. We have smart TVs. Yes, even in security systems, we have computers everywhere. Now, let's assume someone living in Nigeria in 1960s, or in the 1960s rather. Let's assume the person was shown the smartphone that we're now using now, maybe Samsung S25 or your iPhone 15, you understand, or 17. Now, if someone living in Nigeria around the 1960s, if you can go back to time and show the person an iPhone, and you tell the person, with this small device you are looking at like this, I can type documents, I can calculate, I can watch movies, I can send money, I can attend lectures, I can speak with somebody in America, and even store thousands of pictures. The person will think you are a magician. We are trying to travel back in time now. Assuming that was the situation, you should travel back in time and go back to 1960, and you just met somebody on the road randomly and show them an iPhone, and then you tell them everything you could do with an iPhone. The person will, the only explanation the person will be able to give you, or uh, hang his or her belief on, is that you are a magician. So, but what makes all this possible is what? Computing. Why is an iPhone or an Android device, why is it able to type document, calculate, watch movies, send money, attend lectures, speak with somebody in another country, and even save thousands of pictures and videos? It's because of what we call computing. 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 Now, we talk about the meaning of ubiquitous computing. And there is a word here. I think I should use the method I normally use for my people there. Now, I want everybody to look for the meaning of this highlighted word. You can use your dictionary, you can use your AI. So check, I've highlighted the word. Okay, let me copy it for you guys to your chat box. So go and look for it yourself. There is a logic in you looking for the meaning of a word yourself. It take longer. So minimize your YouTube or anything. Check maybe on your browser what's the meaning of ubiquitous, or check it on your AI or anything. What do you get? So I want you guys to teach me now the meaning of the word ubiquitous on your own. Go and look for it, then tell me what it means. You can rephrase it to your own words. Once you get the meaning, you can try to define it in your own way. Yes, Mr. David says the word ubiquitous is an adjective that means present, appearing, or found everywhere. Something like omnipresent. When we say God is omnipresent, the only thing is that there is a slight difference between the two. Yeah, somebody said even in some police station we have computers. Just imagine anywhere you can imagine, anywhere imaginable, you will find computers there. Yes, somebody said ubiquitous means present, found. Okay, people are still saying the same thing. All right, so I think we are agreeing with each other on the definition of ubiquitous. Now, what does that mean? It's not a big word. It simply means being present almost everywhere. That is the simplest way we can say it. Being present almost everywhere. For example, if you wake up with a phone alarm, then you check your WhatsApp, then you use an ATM and you pay with POS, you attend on an online class, you ordered for a ride, you interacted with several computer systems. So what you have done is that you have interacted with several computer systems in one day without necessarily using a desktop or a laptop computer. So all those things you've done on your phone, alarm, check WhatsApp, use ATM, use POS, all those things, you've used computer all along without using the main desktop or using a laptop. So that is what we mean that the computer is becoming ubiquitous. That means in almost everything you can imagine, even your microwave now, we have computerized one. We have computerized microwave in your kitchen. Even the just imagine anything at all. You can We have fans now that are computerized. You have ACs that are computerized. So just imagine anything you can imagine. You find computer inside. So I don't have a laptop doesn't mean you don't have a computer. You have a mobile phone, a smartphone. You have a laptop already. So you have a computer already. Mm, so let's go to what a computer is. The objectives, we've talked about them before. Now, the first thing we want to talk about is what a computer is, and then I would like to read what is here first before we go into anything for the sake of exam, because even in your TMA, they ask questions like this. You just cut out the word here. So a computer is basically defined as a tool or why is this thing not what is the meaning of? Okay, I've forgotten that this one is. So a computer is basically defined as a tool or machine used for processing data to give required information. Used for processing data to give required information. Somebody said processing information earlier. Your definition is not totally correct. It is data that you process, then the result is information. Don't worry, we will get there. So a computer is capable of what? Taking input data through the keyboard. The keyboard is an input device or unit. Then it store the data in diskette, hard disk, or any other storage medium, and then it processes that data in the central processing unit and gives the result as output on the screen on the VDU. That is visual display unit. Okay. Before I start any explanation, okay, let me also talk about this chart. This is the diagram that shows the flow of work a computer does. It accepts input, then processes it, then release the result as information, which is output. Before I start my explanation of this, I want you guys to answer that. I have an icebreaker in the chat box. If you're online, contribute to. So, what are we trying to say when we say a computer is an electronic machine that accepts data as input? It processes the data according to instructions you give to it. If you say this data, multiply it, it is multiplication it will do. If you say this picture, remove the ear, it is the ear it will remove. It stores it where necessary and produces meaningful information as output. So you have input, processing, output, storage. Those are the four things that were identified there. So a computer accepts data, it processes the data, it produces information as a result. Then it also helps you to store that information when necessary. Let's take an example of how computer works. Let us take an example of how computer works. It's only Janet, Sally Janet that is online. It's only her that is able to answer that question. Don't worry. So, simple example of how a computer works. Let's assume you are done with your TMA and exam. Then in your TMA, you score 27. And maybe in your exam, you score 55, for example. Then you went to your computer, you open your calculator, you enter 27 first. Then you added a symbol plus. Then you added 55. Then you press equals to. What you are just doing is that the computer will receive your 27 and 55 as inputs. They are the input data. The computer will then use the operation you prescribe, the plus that you entered in between the two. That is processing. That is just telling the computer that the process, the thing I want to do on these two figures or numbers that I'm feeding you is addition. So the process of the computer adding them together is what we call processing. So you have 27, your TMA 27 data, exam 55 data, then 27 and 55 serves as data. What do you want to do? You want to know your total score for the course. Then the process of you adding them together by using the addition symbol is that is where the computer knows processing. This is what I am to process, and then it eventually displays something on your calculator, 82. Now that 82 is what? The output, which is result. That 82 is now information. You already have the raw thing. I have TMA, I have TMA 27, I have exam 57, but you need an information on what is the main thing I scored in this course. So that is how it works. That is how it works. So 27 plus 55 inputs. The processing is addition. The output is 82. Then the storage. If you decide to store what you got in that course, 82, that's a storage. Now, I think that is all we'll say on that before we move to, of course, data and information. But before we move to data and information, I have an icebreaker. What is the full meaning of VDU? Yes, I'm waiting patiently for you guys. What is the full meaning of VDU? What does it mean? Let's start testing ourselves now, even before TMA starts. All right, so information is referred to. Now let's read the two things we have here. We want to compare data and information. Data, the term data is referred to facts about a person, object, or place. For example, name. Your name is a data. Your age is a data. Your complexion is data. The school you attend is a data. Your class, your height, anything about you like that that we can record is data. So data is facts about a person, an object, or a place. While information is referred to as as processed data or meaningful statement, e.g., net pay of workers, examination result of students, list of successful candidates in an examination or interview, and so on and so forth. Well, we are going to test ourselves on this, but let's look at it very critically. Uh, Data are raw facts. They are figures that have not yet been processed into a meaningful form. If you have something like maybe Janet is 24 years, Janet, 24 years, male. If you're asking you things like okay, let's take a very simple example. Whenever you are filling any form, whether you are filling a form in the bank, filling a form in your school, your admission form or anything, whenever filling is ongoing, it's all those things they used to ask you: your height, your age, your name, your date of birth, your NIN, your whatever. All those things are data. So when they collect all those things, depending on what you want to use it for. If it's in a bank, probably you want to get a new ATM card. It's all those things they compile together and use it to produce meaningful data of you. They process it into that ATM card and it becomes information on that ATM card. So that ATM card now, whenever it's being it's slotted into any ATM machine or POS, it could show your data. It shows the information that this card belongs to so and so and so. This is the name of the person. This is the digit of the card. Now that's information. So, but when you are filling the form, uh, putting your address, your date of birth, your whatever, blah, 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 all those are all called data. They are all called data. So that is why in most cases, when you collect some form like that, you see they will put data form. Why? It's to collect your data. It's to collect your data. Your data are just fact about you. Fact about you. So when you look at it, generally they will not, tell you anything much about the person. You understand? So when somebody just wrote, uh, let's assume we have a whiteboard now, and I just wrote 1, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11 on the board. That is just data because you don't know what I'm trying to, communicate with those numbers yet. So those, as they are written on the board there, they are just data. Nothing meaningful is coming out of them yet. Until I tell you that, okay, what I have just written are the first, uh, the the numbers between 1 and 20. When I now say that, that is now information. It will now make sense. So when I just wrote it on the board like that, individually, like this one, 1, 7, 9, 11, 12, it remains as data. Now, what is information? Information is processed data that has meaning and is useful to the receiver. So, if for instance, I said that, let's say Akinyemi Oluwatosin, if I say she scored 42 in GST103 exam, and I say Kabiru Sunusi scored 57, and maybe I say Mr. Festus scored 80, and I say Jafet scored 63. Is that not information? It's information because it's meaningful. So when I say Mr. Festus scored 80 in GST 103 exam, that is information. Anybody that hears that already know that the person called Mr. Festus sat for GST 103 exam, and in the process of sitting for the exam, did very well by scoring 80 over 100, which is a very good grade. That is information. You don't even need to talk much. So Mr. Festus got 80 in GS 103 exam. Information is different from me writing name Festus, GS 45, height 7 point or something. Those are just data. It doesn't give any information. Now let's bring out the difference between the two. But before I tell you the difference between the two, I want to test you. From what you've just learned now in this class, what do you think is the major difference between data and information? What is the main difference between data and information? Yes, I will need at least 5 to 10 people to answer that. Once you answer that, we'll move to the next thing. What is the main difference between data and information from what you have just learned in this class? From what you've just learned in this class, what is the main difference? Yes, I want to know. Yes, yes. Okay, according to Japhet says data is raw fact and information is finished product. Thank you. That is a very good word. Labisi says data is what you put in the computer and then what it brings out is the information. That is also correct. Thank you. Yes, I am with you guys. I need more responses. I need more responses. This your class is boring. No, I'm not sure I will teach you guys anymore. Yes, data is raw materials, while information is the processed raw materials. Thank you. Okay, let me not waste time because I have so many classes today. Now, very important difference we should know is that data, raw facts, information, processed data. Data is like rice here to cook. Information is the cook rice. When you cook the rice, it becomes information. The rice that you just got from the market, the raw one, is data. You cannot serve raw rice as dinner. So it has to, that is the same way before you obtain information, data must be processed. Data must be processed. Um I have a very short question before we move on. There is no need rushing. We will still finish what we're supposed to finish. Please check the chat box and answer the question. Which one of them qualifies? Which of these is more likely to be information? A 25, 42, 67, 81. Then B, the average score of GST 103 student percent. Which one of them? Just answer A or B. Which one of them is most likely qualified to be called information? Then when you select A or B, try to justify it. Why do you think so? Why don't you choose the other? Okay, so that will take us to data processing. What is data processing? It's very simple. Data processing is just the collection and manipulation of data in order to produce meaningful information. Every step you take in order to turn data into information is called data processing. So in a very simple, you can put data processing as doing something to raw data to make useful information from it. Doing something. So that thing you are doing on a data is what you call processing. That is data processing. And what are the things you are likely going to find yourself doing on data in order to get information? You find yourself collecting the data, maybe recording the data, sorting the data. This one is names. Oh, sorry, these ones are names. These are numbers. This one is calculation. This one, you sort them. Like when you are doing mathematics and you are talking about collecting like terms, you sort them. You may even classify. You may do classification when you are trying to process data into information. You may do calculation. You may try to compare and contrast. You may do summary, that you may summarize. You may store. You may store the data, and even you may retrieve the data. Maybe you have been working on it, you got tired, you stop, then you store it, the data where you stop the processing. Eventually, when you return to continue, you just retrieve it from where you stop and continue the processing. So that is that on data processing. But I think we are still taking in, sorry, still speaking above some people's head. So let's take a very practical example of what we mean by data processing. Maybe that one will help you to understand it better. Mm, Okay, a lot of B, 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 B. Thank you. So a supermarket, for instance, records all sales made during the day. And let's assume that their record goes like this. They just wrote the sales are 5,000, 10,000, 7,500, 20,000, maybe 12,500, and so on. So those are just data. So when they add all together by saying 5,000 plus 10,000 plus 7,500 plus 20,000 plus 12,500 equals to 55,000. The statement will now be today's total sales were 55,000. When you say today's total sales were 55,000, that one is information, maybe to the CEO or to whoever is asking. So that one is what? Information. But when you are trying to add somebody that bought bucket of 5,000 plus one that bought a bag of rice 10,000 plus one that got maybe beans 7,500 plus the one that, when you are doing that, you are processing the data. That is data processing to get required information. Now let's go to methods of data processing, which is a very important part of this material because, of course, you will be tested on this even in TMA. So what are the methods of data processing we have? We have three major methods of data processing. I like to use MMC for them. Now, basically, we use MMC. The first M is manual method. The second M is mechanical method. The C stands for the computer method or the electronic method. So if you use MMC to hold it, you should be able to remember in the exam or anywhere that the first M stands for manual method, which was the method being used in the medieval period. You may know the time where we don't have smart computers, when we don't have phones. Like when we're talking about the 1960s earlier on, that somebody living there, if you should travel back in time and go to show them iPhone, the person will only see it as magic. That is all they can believe. Now, that was the age of manual method. You learn what that entails as you go on. So what are the three methods of data processing we have? Yes, let's list them in the chat box. We have manual, mechanical, and computer. Yes, let's make use of the chat box. I want you guys to list them, the three methods of data processing we have: manual method, mechanical method, and computer method. MMC. MMC. So that is what we have. Now let's talk about them one after the other. Manual method of data processing is the first one we will concern ourselves with. What is this manual method all about? What does it entail? What is being done there? Now, this is a type of method or data processing method that is facilitated mainly through human effort. If you do not chop well, you will not be able to use manual method to do anything because you are using your strength, your energy. For example, somebody that is writing on paper using pen, the person is using manual method. Someone writing on paper using pen is using manual method. And the same person, another person using pencil to draw is using manual method. When a teacher is using chalk to write on the blackboard, the teacher is using manual method. When you use exercise book, when you write on ledger, when you keep physical files, those are all manual method. Let's take an example. Let's say a lecturer has 150 scripts, and then the lecturer mark each script one after the other. We'll mark one script now, write down the score, then add the TMA and exam score together, then use calculator. No, not even calculator. Then use this type of division we do. You write the first number on top, the second number under, then you now calculate the total. And you see, all those things. And after that, you now arrange the student score, the student according to their score, the highest to the lowest. If you are doing that, you spend days. That is manual method. That is how hard manual method was. If you come to farming, the easiest way to look at manual method is when you look at it through the process of farming. You will we likely understand it better by in that example. You know, we have tractors in these our days, but before anything like tractor ever came into imagination, even before they started creating hoes and cutlasses, they were actually farming. But that time, they use more of their human strength, energy, than depending on tools. In the manual time, also in the era of manual method, there were no tools. Human beings have not advanced to thinking about tools. You know, yeah, and some of you don't know how some of the things you are using today came about. You know, you just carry phone you use, you just, you enter your toilet, you sit on the sink. You want to travel from here to there, you board a cab. You climb a bike. All those things you don't know how they were imagined. People notice that, can't we find a way of doing this thing better? This thing is too stressful. Can't we find something or an alternative to doing this thing? People were tired of exhausting their strength. So they started looking for better ways of doing things, alternative ways of doing it, so that they don't expend so much strength like they were. And that was how they started creating tools like hoes, cutlass, and the rest of them. Now, what is the advantage of manual method? What is the advantage? Somebody will ask, is there any advantage in that kind of thing? I know somebody will be somehow bothered. Should we say that there should be any advantage in manual method? Of course there is, or there are. So manual processing may be useful when the amount of data is small. Imagine you want to add maybe 5 plus 15, but there is no calculator in the house. I say, when I say calculator, I will do it. Being that one is not saying you should be looking for calculator for. So when the amount of data you want to deal with is small, you can use manual method. Manual method is also, there is one advantage with manual method. It doesn't use electricity. So there is not like, NEPA did not bring light since 3 days, so I'm not able to use my PC, or I'm not able to use my phone. That one is not in manual method. Manual method, your pen, as long as there is ink inside, will always write. The paper is always there too to be written on. So, and then in manual method, the task is very simple. The task is very simple. Now, disadvantage of manual method, listen attentively. Manual method is very slow. Imagine you want to type 25, so you want to write a book. Maybe you are a writer and you are trying to write a book that will take about 50 pages. Then you now have to start writing it manually using a pen on the paper. How many days or months do you think you will take to finish that kind of book when you are writing on paper and pen? Now, it's very slow. It's tiring. By the time you have to use pen and paper to write 50 pages, you know that you become tired, exhausted. In fact, you start blaming your ancestors. Can't we find something better to do with this? Or how something a more, as you get tired. Imagine writing 50 pages. For what? Then it's boring. On your phone, then you got tired of working, then you just minimize a bit, then you, okay, let me watch TikToks more and I'll go back to work. No, that one, you are working on paper, nothing else to motivate you. And then it is time consuming. Of course, you should know that one, that it will be time consuming. Using pen and paper to write, you can't compare it with using a computer to type, or even using voice note to your phone is there writing, you are just dictating. I hope you guys know that that is available now on your computer. Now you can just be telling your computer what to write, and you're going to be writing it. You don't no need to do any stress again. You talk to your phone now, your phone swing into action. So the one major disadvantage you should remember, and which is the one they like testing you on, is that it is prone to human error. No matter how smart or good I am, when I'm writing using pen on paper, there is a tendency that I will make so many errors. And as I'm making errors, if I'm not even good in managing errors, I may just cancel everything, or I may be shading it to make the whole thing look rough. It's not always neat. The manual method is not neat. It's not neat at all. especially some of us that have handwriting that looks like chicken writing on the floor. You know that chickens don't have handwriting. I know my Yoruba people used to say, sorry, used to say, Oyinbo, abi, is it Adìẹ kọ̀wé Oyinbo kàtì? Sorry if I know Yoruba. What they mean is that when chicken write on the floor, even a white man will not be able to read it. So imagine you have that kind of handwriting, then you want to write 50 pages of book. When you finish writing, you yourself, sometimes you want to read what you've written, you get confused. What was I trying to write here? This one is looking like, what is, why? Because it is prone to human error, and then it is difficult when the data is very large. So that is that on that. But before we leave that page, let me say, assuming you calculate the CGPA of 50,000 non-students, let's assume you want to calculate the CGPA for or of 50,000 non-students using pen on paper. Okay, let me ask us a question. I think we've been talking for long. Let's take an icebreaker. Now, this is the icebreaker we want to take. Is it possible to calculate the CGPA of 50,000 students using pen and paper? That is all I want to ask you guys. Your answer is just yes or no. Is it possible? Let me type it so that you understand what I'm saying. Is it possible to calculate the CGPA of 50,000 students with pen and paper? Your answer is just yes or no. Okay, Jafet says no. Okay, let me hear from the rest. Okay, Janet says no. The rest of you, yes, I want to hear from you guys. At least we are up to 20 something in class. Okay, it's not possible. It's not possible. Okay, majority are saying it's not possible. Let me shock you guys. It is possible. The answer is it is possible. Why? It may only take days, weeks to complete, but you will do it. That is to tell you that manual method is time consuming, tiring. I use this illustration so that I will use it to bring out all the points we have said on the disadvantages of manual method. It is slow. When data is large, you have to work for long. It is tiring. It is boring. It is time consuming. It is prone to human error. Now, do you know that it's possible? You'll be able to do it now. Sure. Now, by the time you exhaust how many pages of A4 paper, you will finish the calculation. You understand? It's not to list each of them and maybe what they got in each courses, add them together, do the calculation one by one for 50,000 students. It's possible, but it will take time. Okay, before they invented calculator, if we had an institution that is running that kind of thing for about 1,000 students, they will still do it manually, but it's going to take time. But they may need to do division of, you understand, instead of one person doing it, they may need to ration it for several people. So you handle 30 students, you handle for 50 students, you handle for 10 students, you handle for, you understand, you will definitely do it. It's possible. But what of efficiency? Will it be efficient? The second question is, will it be efficient? Yes, I want you guys to answer that one too. You've at least you've answered the first one, and I said your answer is not correct. But what of if, since we say it is possible, okay, will it be efficient? No doubt it is possible. But if that should be done, how efficient will it be? So let your answer also be yes or no. Will that kind of calculation be efficient? 50,000 students done on paper using pen. Will it be efficient? If before you answer that question, maybe you should go and look for the meaning of the word efficient. Will that kind of calculation be efficient? What do you think the efficiency will be like? Yes, I am waiting patiently for you guys because your responses are very important. Okay, this is now 4 o'clock. Okay, we'll just do one more thing and somebody said yes, but not really. This one I want to confuse my village people. Your answer is either yes or no. Which one is yes but not really? You want to send me to village? Okay, Janet said no, sir. I think I'll go with Janet. I'm not going with Viris or Iris. I don't know. She said yes, but I don't think I agree with that. I rather agree with Janet. And the reason why I'm agreeing with Janet is that by the time you do that for 50,000 students, by the time you get to 1,000 students, you start making some blunders, some errors that you may not even notice because you are human. You would have gotten tired, exhausted, so you start doing something that is not efficient. A student may get total CGP of maybe 3.9. You mistakenly do wrong calculation there and put 3.45. All those kind of things. So it's not going to be efficient. So thank you guys. Now let's go to the second method. So when humans were doing that, and then the workload began to rise, now we are now having to deal with large workloads. I'm not thinking like, this manner method is going to exhaust someone, is going to keep someone one day. No, 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 no. Let's not use this manner method again. No, please, let's look for a solution. No. Mm. So when they start looking for solution to the manual method, to the manual method, that was when they started thinking outside the box that let's start creating things that can do these things for us instead of we using all our strength all the time. So we enter the stage of mechanical method of data processing. And this stage is just a stage. Let me go down a bit. So, okay, mechanical method. And this stage is a stage that uses machines to assist human beings. Machines then, they were assistants. They assist human beings in processing data. So we have examples of such machines like typewriters. I don't know if we have people that are maybe above 25 here, or people that are around 30, you know what a typewriter is. All this Gen Z generation, they don't know that. Now, we have adding machines, we have calculators, we have Roneo and duplicating machines. All those were invented then as mechanical machines. For what? For helping human beings. Instead of human beings carrying the load all alone for doing all those things, all those large volume of work, they now have something to depend on to assist them. So at that time, a cashier may use the adding machine to get the total sales for a day. So the machine then assists the worker, but human participation is very important. A calculator cannot operate itself. A typewriter will not just start typing on its own for you. You can't speak into a typewriter to type for you. So it is a combination of machine plus human effort. The only thing mechanical method has done is that it has reduced the extent at which human effort is expended in data processing. So it's now 50-50. The machine will do 50%, the human will do 50%. But without the human, the machine cannot operate. Without the human, the machine cannot operate. What are the problems associated with this method? When we start talking about machines, you should know about several things. Like if without being told, you can even think of it like when they started creating machines, and that time I think they were using most of those machines as troubleshooting, just trial. The first inventions and all those stuff, they were just trying, using trial and error. They've not gotten the perfect one. So what are the problems associated with mechanical method? The method where both machine and human effort, cooperated to get data processing done. Well, I have and I want everybody online to, you know, contribute to this. If you know you are still online, if you are not in Owambe and you are deceiving us here that you are in class. So, what is the answer to that question? While you are doing that, let me continue bringing out the errors or the problems associated with the mechanical stage, mechanical method of data processing. One is noise. In those days when they usually use typewriter, when you are passing by an office or anywhere where they are using typewriter, you will know that somebody is typing, they are using typewriter. Why? The sound it keeps bringing any button you press, pa, it gives a sound. So it makes noise and disturbs the environment. Another one is that in comparison with computer stage, it is slow. It is faster than the manual method, but slower than the computer method. Even though those ones too, they were machines, but they are not as fast as a computer. Computer that you can program now, and even without going there back, it will still be doing the work. You see that there is a difference. So in comparison with the computer stage or computer method, the mechanical method is slow. They are also error prone. When you are typing on a typewriter, you can make mistake. And the worst thing with typewriting is that, sorry, typewriter is that when you make an error, if it's a paper that there must be no error, you have to cancel everything you've done and start again. See like that. Then it is limited in capacity. Those machines were limited. For instance, calculator was only able to do calculation then, nothing else. In fact, the calculators we were making in those days, there is a limit to what they can calculate because there is a number of zeros and one that the thing can display. Then they are unsuitable for huge amount of data. The same way manual method is unsuitable for huge amount of data like that 50,000 students CGPA. The same way the mechanical method is unsuitable because you will be wondering that since they've started producing machines in the mechanical method, then why did they need to look for another method? We can actually understand that when they were using the manual method, yes, that one was too stressful, full of errors, tiring, and so on and so forth. So that one, of course, they will be right to be looking for better options of doing it. But when they started using machines, why were they still looking for something else that is still better than mechanical method? Why? It's because of all these problems that are associated with the mechanical method. Finally, we'll be talking about the computer and electronic method. The computer method. So far, you've understood what the manual method is all about and what the mechanical method is all about. As we round up the class, we'll round up with the computer method. This method is very interesting because this is a method that concerns us in this our generation. Oh, so what do we say about this method? It involves using a computer to process data electronically. It's as simple as that. The computer method involves that is it involves using a computer to process data electronically. And what does that mean? So let's say when none processes thousands of student examination results now, they use a computer or they use computer systems. So that is using computer to what? Process data. When a bank automatically calculates your account balance, your interest, your charges, your deposit, your withdrawals using a computer, they are using the computerized processing. That is a method of processing of data that involves the computer. Now, let's quickly talk about the advantages of computer processing. I won't dwell much on computer, because this one is not something they're telling you from 1960. It is something that you are experiencing on daily basis. So you can relate to it very well, more than those mechanical and manual methods. So advantages of computer processing. What are the advantages we get when we use the computer to, process data? Well, in fact, they are numerous, but let's just pick the few that are listed here. We have continuous processing. When you have large quantity of data, they can be processed continuously with minimum effort, just command and instruction. That is all. You just give it instruction and it continues working on it. It is fast. The processing is fast. It's not like the time of typewriter or the time of pen and paper. Millions of operations can be completed very quickly. Then the storage in computers now, oh my goodness. Your typewriter could not store anything then. You just type is, direct, type on your paper, and that is all, nothing like storage. But computer can store. In fact, it can store large amount of information. Then you can correct things easily. You're actually typing on Microsoft Word, you made an error, you just backspace, it clears off, and you type the new thing. It will not show that something has been cleared from that place. It's as simple as that. So that is, error correction is very easy. It's not like the time of typewriter that once there is an error, you either tear the whole paper or you decide to leave the error there like that, as if you don't know an error is there because you don't want to start again. That is the thing. So error correction in the computer method is very easy. You just backspace and it clears off, and you type the new thing you're supposed to type there. Then the output, which means the result that you get when you use computers to process data, the output can contain different things that the mechanical method was unable to produce. If you use computer to process data, you can get output like tables, like charts, pictures, graphs, diagrams, different types of font. You can use heading, you bold the heading. You can use italize, you can underline, you can, all those things. You can use different font and format. Those are the things you get from using a computer. So you get attractive output. Then the accuracy of the computer is great or greater than that of mechanical. Computer can be very accurate when you use them. So when you give the correct instruction to the computer, it will give you the output. Errors will only come in when you that you are given the instruction, when you give a wrong instruction. Otherwise, you always get the correct output. And then the computer is reliable. Unlike humans that want to process 50,000 CGPA, you know, the human will break down. So if you tell the human, please, those students must see their result on the 17th of September. So you push you hasten up. It's not possible. The human being may fall sick, so unable to complete it. If it doesn't fall sick, it may get tired and stop working. But the computer is not like that. The computer doesn't fall sick. Once you give the instruction, it continues working. So computer is reliable. You understand? It is reliable. So that is where we hang the boot today. In the next class, we will start from the characters of a computer. The characters of a computer. But before you go, I want to ask you this question. What are state the three major methods of data processing? That is the MMC. So you state it. Once you do that, I am okay with this class. Thank you. Oluwatimileyin started it. Computer method, yes. What are the other two? Don't say somebody have said what I want to say, or say your own. Nobody said what you want to say. Say your own. Type your own. Manual, mechanical, computer. Thank you, Mercy. Stella, thank you. That is correct. Samuel Oluwatosin, yes. Manual, mechanical, and computer method. So It means you guys have followed this class. Uh, well, your attendance is encouraging. So next week Saturday, by God's grace, we will likely take the second class. For now, enjoy the rest of your weekend and enjoy your own one for those of you that are in parties.